Okay, next thing I do, just again working my way down the face. These controls don't have regions associated with them, so they are really just enveloping controls, and I just check those and make sure that that's working correctly. And these controls have two different kind of actions. One's kind of a just up and down, and then you get a more of an orbital pulling if you go side to side. We actually don't typically put a marker on the actors for these during motion capture. At Blur we didn't, so we typically would just kind of do a quick 2-point constraint on these to the other two eyebrow markers, and that gives you just a kind of unit that kind of works when the mocap drives these around. So depending on what you're doing, I mean, you may very well be doing motion capture that has that data, and it would be driven by that. Or if you're keyframing, you may want to rig up a little something like this so that it's less controls to drive. In any case, they have no region associated with them, so you just kind of set those up to suit your needs. The lower orbitals, however, have two regions associated. So if I pull this up, it has the same kind of action. It's up and down for bulging, and then in and out kind of gives you an orbital action. So if you pull these into a position that might get into for a big smile or a squint, that's probably a bit extreme, but we'll use that for this. So it's kind of the same operation on this, so we have two regions to control with that. Same thing, I just amp that up. Let me hide all this stuff and kind of pull that in to find its region. This one can be really different sometimes depending on how much you expect that to be moving. Okay, something around 6 it looks like. I'm just going to pull that back into something like that. And then I'll just duplicate that while I'm in here. So 6, and let me copy that curve. .016. Okay, then we'll do the same thing for the eye bag. They usually are similar values. Something like that, 6.5. And then just dial that down to something like that. So on these curves, obviously you can see that this position on the timeline of that curve correlates to where that position of that marker is, and the ease in and ease out actually controls how fast it will hit that extreme. So you can control not just where that range is, but how it eases in and out of the two extremes of that. So you can control that. If you're doing hand key stuff, you might want to set these ease in and outs to be pretty fluid. With mocap, it may not make much of a difference since mocap's driving it every frame anyway. Okay, so we've got these set, and you can see that the deformation is not pretty on that. You get this noticeable kind of area that it's bulging, and the wrinkling is way too extreme. So I'm going to just start out by doing the painting process on these as well. And if I select that crow's feet region and go to the paint, Probably just going to want to pull that down quite a bit and then smooth it out. Oops. Quite a bit more like that. And then on this eye bag region, that you don't want to be quite so well defined probably, so pull that out. Just give it a nice smooth there. So you just want to work that until it's a little smoother transition. And then, obviously, the wrinkles are too extreme, so I would hop back over to the wrinkle painting really quick and use symmetry to do this both at once, and just pull these out until they begin to look right. Probably will come back and adjust those later as I see the motion capture on it. Looks like I have a bit of noise in there. Check these again. Yeah, you can see that edge is a little too abrupt right there, so you want to make sure that's good and smooth. Oops. It's a little better. So those maps can make a big difference on how the bulging looks. If you get too close to that edge, then you'll get that harsh line along there. So just make sure those are nicely smoothed.